Today I wanted to talk about multiplexers since I'm taking a class in digital electronics and I struggled on understanding multiplexers and what they did. So I built a 2-to-1 multiplexer and a 4-to-1 multiplexer, and I just want to kind of go over how they work uh, so that I can better understand it. Because if you're able to teach a subject to someone, that basically means you know it. So here we have the 2-to-1 multiplexer. We'll turn everything off first. And we have our two inputs here, which is W0, W1, and then we have our S, which is our select line. And essentially what the select line does is if we are, okay, let's turn on W1 per se, right? So if it is off, it selects the first one here, right? I have a truth table right here, actually. So if select is 0, which is off, it will select whatever is on here. And then if select is on, it'll select whatever W1 is right here. And this is the output right here. So since we're selecting W1, it'll match it. If we select W0, it'll match that. And so if we turn this on, right, it'll match it. If I turn this off and I turn it on, it'll match it. So pretty simple stuff. Over here, I have exact same thing, but it's just a bigger one with 2 select lines now. And these correspond to 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we have here, we have S1 and S0 here, and we have the output of like what it corresponds to. So if they're both off, it's going to give me the output of W0, which is this one. And then if we have S1 off and S0 on, it'll give us the output of W1. So turn that on, it'll turn on. Then, we have S1 on, S0 off. We should get 2, sorry. And then both on, we should get 3. So let's stay on. If I turn it off, it should also turn off. Nice. Next thing I want to go into is using a multiplexer to implement logic functions. So here we'll have our first one where the output is 1 for min terms. So it's going to be 0 and then 1 all the way to 7 here. And we can see that the output is 1 for min term 1, 2, 6, and then row 7. Then what we want to do is we want to find out for what value of C does the output relate to. So we want to split up the chart with having A and B as our select lines. So I'm going to draw a multiplexer down here, which is just like that, just a trapezoid. And then we'll have A here, and we'll have B here. We'll have all 4 over our inputs. Now A and B can refer to 4 inputs, with the top being 0, 0, this one being 0, 1, 1, 0, and 1, 1. And there's also 1F, which is the output. Now, if A and B are 0, we look at these 4 right here, where A and B are both 0. And we take a look at C and how C relates to F. And we can see here C is always going to be the same thing as F. So this means that for our first input here, when A and B are 0, C is going to equal F. So our first line will be C. So if C is on, F will be on. If C is off, F will be off. Now looking at when A is off and B is on, which is our next set of 4, we can see that when C is off, F is on, and when C is on, F is off. So that means it's going to be the opposite of whatever C is, so C prime. Then we'll have A on, B off, these next set. And we can see that no matter what, if C is on or off, the output is always off. So that means this is just going to be set to 0. And looking at our last one, when they're both on, C is 0 or 1, and the output is always 1. So that means this is 1. Now, remember these 4 values here, and we're going to set that in our Minecraft multiplexer. So we have C on, C off, 0, and 1. 1 will always be 1, 0 will always be 0, and then these two are going to respond to this is C, and this is C turned off. Now if we go through our truth table that we just had, we have both off, then the answer is going to be whatever C is. And C is off, this is off. If we turn C on, this will be on. And then if we want to do our B on and A off, we'll see that it is whatever C is not. So as you can see, C is on, so F is 0. If we turn C off, F is 1. And we can go through the other one here, where A is on and B is off, and the answer should just always be 0. Even if we switch C, it'll still be 0. And with both of them on, it'll always be on. If we switch C, it's still on. Next, what I want to implement is A and C prime, or B prime and C. So here I already have the outputs made, but it's pretty simple to just get on your own. So if we have A and C prime, so it's going to be, we already disregard all of this up here because it's only going to be when A is on. We'll have A is on, and then we need when C is off, so it's going to be this one and this one. And then it's an OR, so then we'll go to B right here, which is going to be when B is off, so it's these two or these two. And then we're going to look at when C is on, so it's going to be this one and this one. And as you can see, these all line up with when F is 1 right here. So now that we have our truth table figured out, we go about this the exact same way. So whenever A and B are both 0, we go to these top 4 here, and we'll see that C is the same. So if C is 0, F is 0. If C is 1, C is 1. So that means this first thing, C. First input is C. Then we look at 0, 1 right here, and we can see that no matter what, the output's always 0. So the output is going to be 0. And then we'll have 1 and 0 right here, and you can see it's always 1. So it's always 1. And that only leaves C prime, but we'll check anyways, and we'll see that 1, 1, 1, 1, and it's the opposite of C. So C prime. Now we're going to remember this, and we're going to implement this into Minecraft real quick. So this is our 0, so it's always going to be off, and this is our 1, always going to be 1. And then we'll have this set to C. So whenever we have both of these off, and then we have C off, the output will be 0. If we have C on, this will also be on, because our first line is C. And then if we have B turned on, the output will always be 0, even if we turn off C. Then if we do A on and B off, we'll see that the output's always 1, even if we turn on C. And then finally, if these are both on, the answer is going to be the opposite of what C is. So C is turned on, output is off. C is off, output is on. And that's all I wanted to go over. This helps my understanding of the subject a lot, and I completely understand these lecture slides now after already taking so many attempts to re-explain this over and over without stumbling or messing up. But I have a clear grasp on understanding this, and hopefully you have some kind of a grasp on this if you were locked in. All the redstone was very messy. I did not care about being compact, but you can see all the multiplexers. For this one single 2-to-1 multiplexer, you can see both of the AND circuits right here, or the AND gates, going into one repeater, which is the OR, and that gets to the output. And over here we have the AND gates marked with the blue. So we have our first AND gate on the ground actually, and then our second one here. Oop. And then we'll have our third one here and our fourth one here, and they all like combine into the middle here, where it is our OR, and we get our output. Very cool stuff. We can also see our select lines over here, which is just going to be, you know, our on and our off and on here. And very proud of myself for learning this and being able to teach this to y'all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you some other time. Goodbye.